Well, let me welcome you here this morning. I really appreciate everyone's attendance. My name's Dave Trobert. I'm president of Kansas Policy Institute. Our other guest, Leslie Heiner, was unfortunately unable to make it today. Her plane was, all the flights out of Chicago were canceled last night, and she wasn't able to get here this morning. So the earliest flight she could have made it was sometime this afternoon. So rather than inconvenience all of you, we just decided to go ahead without her. But as James hopefully informed everyone, she is available for interviews today or whenever it's convenient. We can provide all that contact information. You know, there's been, for some time now, and especially this week as we close in on a budget for the next year, there's been a lot of understandable concern about how school funding is changing and how that's going to, especially how that's going to impact student achievement. And that's largely what we want to talk about today, because we have some good news to share with you, we have a little bit of bad news, then we have some more good news and some even better news. Let me start with, oh, look what I did. There we go. Let me start with some of the good news. Kansas definitely compares well with other states in the country. As you can see here, we're tied for 6th place with 4th grade math proficiency in the country, tied with for 9th place with 8th grade math and so forth. In almost every subject you look at, Kansas performs above the national average, and in many cases, particularly in math, at the very near the top of the comparison with other states. The bad news is we compare well in a country that really doesn't do a very good job of getting kids to their full potential. I mean, for example, Massachusetts in reading, in 4th grade reading proficiency, Massachusetts is the #1 state in the country. They have 47% of their students at or above proficient. So less than half of the students are proficient in the best state in this country. That's not acceptable. Here's how Kansas compares. As you can see, there have been some minor changes, some minor gains, and that's good. You can see in 4th grade reading from 2003 to 2009, we've come up 3 points. 8th grade reading is down a couple. We've seen a little bit of improvement in math and a little bit more improvement in 8th grade math. This is all from the National Assessment of Educational Progress from the U.S. Department of Education, where they compare all states on a periodic basis. 2009 happens to be the most recent year for that information to be available. Now, those were the national numbers. Let me show you the state numbers. This is reading grade appropriate material with full comprehension based on the state. And this is for all grade levels across the state. White students have gone from a little bit below 60% to, that's actually 67%, reading with full comprehension of grade appropriate material. The all-student average is a little bit less. It's gone from the low 50s to just about 60%. Hispanic students, however, are still just barely above 40%, and African Americans aren't even at 40%. So again, we see a lot of the same patterns we saw with the national comparisons, where there have been some gains, but still probably well below what I think we can all agree are acceptable levels of proficiency. Now, here's the other good news. Because we've been very concerned about spending and how that's going to impact, spending billions more dollars didn't raise achievement levels. And so spending a little bit less shouldn't hurt anyone. Let me show you an example here. We're going to look at the 4th grade. These are the same numbers you saw in the previous table. 4th grade reading proficiency, 8th grade, and their spending. Over the same period of time where we've had next to no change in our proficiency levels of 4th grade and 8th grade reading, we've seen per pupil spending go from about $7,000 to over $12,000. Now that's 2009. That was actually ended up at $12,660 per pupil. Last year, and of course the NAEP numbers aren't available for 2010, last year was a little bit less. It was $12,330 per pupil. It was down about 2.6%. And we'll see a little bit of a decline, probably less than that this year, and maybe about a 1% or so decline next year in total funding. But now, we can say that it maybe isn't great that we haven't seen tremendous improvement, but especially because we're concerned about what are we going to do with school finance and how's that going to impact funding, I think this is really good news. If we've put that much more money, $2.5 billion more into our school system since 1998, and we haven't changed the numbers, then we shouldn't be concerned. We have a problem we have to deal with, and we want to get to that. But money clearly isn't the answer. I mean, thank goodness it isn't, because citizens don't have billions more to put into this problem. And quite frankly, we can't wait decades to get to where kids, I think we can all agree, where we want them to be. It's not whether you look at the NAEP numbers, where it's in the 30s, or even if you look at some of the state numbers, different methodology, but scoring in the 30s, 40s, and 50% is not where we can be acceptable. It's good that we've seen some gains, but we have a long way to go. So here's the better news. There are alternatives with a proven track record of raising achievement. Other states are expanding school choice, and a lot of other reforms that Florida officials credit for their progress. Florida started on a campaign of reforming the education system back in 1998 under Governor Jeb Bush. So when they did it, there was a lot of theory. They admit to that. But we can see the progress, and I'll show you some of the gains, and that's why a lot of other states are starting to adopt some of the things that Florida has done, because they want to see the same thing. And as you'll see here, these changes are really effective in closing achievement gaps. You know, the Kansas education industry pretty consistently says no to any kind of student-centric ideas like school choice. They've come up before, they've been talked about once in a while, but the industry response is pretty much no. We don't want to do it. Well, quite frankly, if spending more money, billions more, hasn't gotten kids even close to where I think we can all agree isn't an acceptable level and where the kids should be, we're saying why not? Why not give students and parents more choice with proven opportunities? Now, Why Not Kansas is, and this is where Leslie would come in if she were here, Why Not Kansas is a joint effort of Kansas Policy Institute and the Friedman Foundation for Educational Choice. The foundation was founded by Nobel laureate economist Milton Friedman and his wife Rose D. Friedman. Milton Friedman was a champion of freedom, and his focus was that government should be based on individual liberty. They devoted really the better part of the end of their career to school choice, and their family say that school choice is what the Friedmans are really, I mean, it's their legacy. It's what they are best known for. So we are very pleased to be working with the Friedman Foundation for Educational Choice on this campaign. Why Not Kansas is a multimedia education initiative. We want people to get the facts about achievement and spending and really inform Kansans about the options for helping all kids reach their full potential. Let me show you, I'm just going to play an ad that started last week.
Excellent public schools, but even so, about 1 out of every 4 Kansas students doesn't read at grade level.
That's crazy.
Maybe we need to give the schools more money.
We're already spending over $1 billion more on our schools than we spent just a few years ago, and yet students are still underachieving. Kansas taxpayers simply can't afford to spend billions more.
Then what can we do?
We can improve public education and save Kansans money by increasing the options available to Kansas families. Why not give parents a choice and allow them to choose the schools that will best educate, motivate, and challenge their kids? Why not give families and taxpayers a break instead of a bigger financial burden?
Yeah, why not?
Be part of the solution. Go to whynotkansas.com and get the facts about spending and student achievement. Learn how you can help ensure Kansas families have more educational options.
Why Not Kansas? Sponsored by the Friedman Foundation for Educational Choice and Kansas Policy Institute.